part. Changing structures in organizations, we also saw that this is something very essential, so you need to have a coordinated approach to that. So creating specific units to look after that, making it an important case in your leadership team would be one option. Having very heavy governance structures, obviously you can't change them just because of that, but there are ways out of it. You can create committees who can actually act faster to take up these opportunities that are out there. And of course you need to have appropriate information tools to guide the process. The final part on that, you need to provide incentives. There's a variety of methods here, either being its individual rewards, promotions, remunerations, for those within your community who are very active and who are very successful in attracting funds, or on departmental level you can also provide incentives of what's coming in from there. Importantly also, seed money for new initiatives. Not everything is a successful activity at the beginning, and if you from central level can't provide seed money also to invest in something which might turn out as a failure, then those will never take off. Finally, and I think you can already see the pattern as well, provide the right support structures. So and this is kind of where we see the tension between when the academic community is asked to be involved in that. Well, they don't want to write a business plan, they don't want to get involved in the nitty-gritty. They might have the contacts, but they need support in devising contracts, etc. So the support structure is a very essential tool to help in this process. My final points are, and this is, I just want to scratch here on the surface to give you some pointers maybe for your discussions throughout the day. What does this mean for our sector, for your sector, the conservatoires? I'm very much aware of that you don't have some options that other universities have, but on the other hand I think there's still a large number of options still there, and I think it's worth considering. In any case, I think it's not a question of choice, because the funding context has really changed drastically and is continuing to change. And in a lot of cases, it's not, you need to build up these activities. So that's very important. So my recommendation is to start doing it now. So first of all, developing a better understanding of your cost structures is one key point that you can make your decisions which activities are bringing a loss or which are bringing a sort of profit, and integrate this into your strategy. You need to make an analysis. Is this something that we really need to do? Yes, of course, you need to do it also if it brings a loss, but if the unbalance is too big, you need to take probably action to do something about that. You can also look at efficiency measures in your institutions. We found that very often restructuring of academic units can help. How many layers do you have within your institutions? Of course, you need to align this with your strategy, but just because something has always been like it was, does not mean that this is the best thing how it is. You can centralize services. Some services you can do much better on a central level than in a decentralized level. So there is some efficiency gains in there. You don't need to have to do everything yourself. Sometimes outsourcing services can be more efficient than doing them by yourself. Sharing services with other institutions can save costs. Obviously, when you're in a competition with other institutions, you can't do that, but there's a great deal of tools and services that you can share with others that have the same mission. You can share your equipment, your instruments with other institutions. This is, of course, something very delicate. I'm very much aware of that, but there are options in there where you can save money. Sharing facilities. I don't know who uses this but we've seen lots of examples where institutions make a really very efficient use of their resources and also make money out of that. And we've seen other institutions where there's still a lot of potential in these actions. So that's on the efficiency institutional side. What kind of activities? Here also just some pointers. Fundraising, I mean I can't give you a talk about fundraising, but what I want to say here, this is something which is actually, you need to invest in this at the beginning. You won't get a return immediately, so you need to build networks, you need to build the right structures, and on top of that, the leadership needs to get involved. I mean, there are so many studies about the success of fundraising activities, but one thing is very clear, this is not just something that can be done by a fundraising office, etc. You, the leadership, needs to get involved in that. I've just had a meeting last week with the UK Vice Chancellor, and said, well, I've been touring now through America to talk to her, and now I'm going to Asia, etc. So this is an issue for the leadership, even if you don't like that. Also connecting with the local and regional environment and diverse communities. I think there's a lot of potential here. I've just highlighted here a couple of examples that we've extracted of our questionnaires as well. The Art Academies in Helsinki very strongly get involved with the region and get money from the region for different projects and different activities. Use your assets. There's a lot of potential in using your assets and facilities. Also in our sample, we do have some conservatoires that have up to 3% of their income from this source, so they're making actually quite good use of that. And also explore some potential European funding. I mean, I know that many of you do, particularly we're aware of the, here in Eastern European countries, the use of structural funds is something very important. But I think you've been also discussing last year on research. So I think this is something where there's still a lot of potential. I've just mentioned here the HERA funding network, where I noticed they've just published this call where some universities got quite considerable amount of money for topics actually that are your topics as well. So that's the funding scheme for humanities. There is money in there as well. The final point I want to mention is actually you need to make the case. You need to make the case for arts education and development of arts, and that public funders still invest in your sector. And this is at the moment more important than ever. And I think that this is, you can do that through a variety of actions. I think your organisation, AAC, is one actor, is a very important actor in doing so. You're acting on a European level, but also at national level, and you have to make the case why the public and the society should still invest in your sector. You can also go through national organisations, or as a group of conservatoires work together. But I think it's and this is really something that you need to do, lobby for public funding. I think there's also, just as a last example, convince research councils, for example, to set up specific funding lines. So that I think there's still a lot of money there, where if you approach them proactively, you will find that there might be money in there. We have contacts with the European organisation who represents all the research councils, and I've been talking to the president recently, and he asked me, well, we're thinking about how we can fund arts education, but we're not quite sure. So I said, well, talk to them. I'm sure they have the ideas how you could set up some funding lines that would also specifically go in that direction. A couple of countries have set up some, I would say, pilot projects or small schemes, but there is money in there. This I want to conclude. This is my recommendation, sort of proactive approach is very important to that. Thank you very much.